Thank you for joining us today for our Release 2 webinar. We're really excited to show you the new features and enhancements we've been developing in the past few months. Today's webinar will be hosted by Paige Elkins, one of our solutions engineers based in Atlanta. Paige will give you a quick overview of the new features and functions included in our Easy Reporter, Easy Clone, Easy Balance and Strato document solutions. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining. Today we're going to be talking about our latest software update, Release 2 of 2019, and all the new features you have to look forward to. So we will first take a look at what's in our flagship product, Easy Reporter this time. We're going to start with some notes regarding additional fields you can now include in your reports. For those of you utilizing our SuccessFactors connector for Employee Central data, we have added the ability to include additional OData entities into your reports. No longer are you limited to just the per person entity. The steps to generate the fields are found via the Easy Reporter configuration path on the slide, which is Configuration, System Settings, Field Configuration. And I'm going to show you this in the system in just a moment. We've also added some additional ECC master data fields from infotypes such as Infotype 25 appraisals, Infotype 107, which is a Belgium infotype for work schedules, manager reporting from Infotype 0509, another infotype for Belgium, Infotype 125 garnishments, and Infotype 197 for Malaysia. Continuing with the list of new infotype fields, we've also added fields from the following: Infotype 736 alimony for Brazil, several for China, Infotypes 3532, 34, 22, and Infotype 531, plus Infotype 11 external bank transfers. This release also includes the ability to report additional fields from the Australian table for business subsections, which is table T5QGP. Now, leaving data fields for a moment, let's move to the topic of Easy Reporter performance. You will be pleased to learn that this release includes several changes designed to enhance system performance, such as these. First of all, job splitting, which has been available for a while for employee-based reports. It's now going to be available on PD structural reports. The splits will be based on the search object or objects that you enter, rather than PERNER, as in the case for employee-based reports. The number of desired jobs is entered on the execution options screen, just like you do now. Also for PD reporting, another change is we are delivering some behind-the-scenes changes meant to improve the data processing of the PD reports. In a similar manner, we've also made some changes related to master data reporting to speed up their execution. Now, this next one is a really exciting development. You will now be able to supply HCM data directly into the SAP Analytics Cloud using Easy Reporter as the source data tool. So, if you're using SAP Analytics Cloud already, or if you're thinking about doing so, this enhancement is going to improve your ability to report on and analyze your HR data. Our next topic is in regards to our web reporting capabilities. As you hopefully already know, all of your Easy Reporter output can be executed via a web interface rather than through the standard SAP GUI, something that's actually a part of our software at no extra charge. You just have to go through a couple of steps to activate it. Now, for those of you using Web Reporter already, you're going to be happy to know that we have added pagination options to alleviate some performance issues. So let's take a look now at some of these Easy Reporter enhancements directly in the system. So I'm going to move over here to my SAP system. And I'm sitting here, I've already executed the transaction for Easy Reporter, so I'm at my Easy Reporter main screen. The first thing I thought I would show you is where that configuration is if you want to include additional OData entity fields into your reports using our SuccessFactors connector. So this configuration is under the path Configuration, System Settings, Field Configuration. All right, and that was on the slide as well, mentioned as we went through configuration, system settings, field configuration. Now that's the path that you follow if you want to either add a Z table into Easy Reporter data fields, or if you have perhaps a custom info type. You may have gone through these steps with the help of your Spinifex consultant to bring in those data fields and make them available inside of Easy Reporter. So that same path, that's where we've gone, and it's very similar in terms of the steps from this point on. You're going to click on Add Data Source. Now what's new here is at the bottom of this pop-up. Everything at the top here, it's already been there. Like I said, this is how you've added custom tables in the past. But if you come down here to the bottom, there's a radio button where you can say you want to add custom OData entity selections. So click that radio button, and then you have a choice in terms of the source of how you're going to build those fields. One can be the RFC destination, meaning your RFC connection to your SuccessFactors, your Employee Central data. Or you can, while you're in SuccessFactors, actually export the data in an XML formatted file. And if you wanted to do that, you can click the second radio button and import that particular file that you have already created. I'm just going to leave it on RFC destination for now. Now the next step would be select Configure Entities. So I'm going to click that button. It takes a minute now to pull up my list of possibilities, but what it's going to do is show me all the possible OData entities, and I need to do the drop down here to see them. Okay, so there they are. These are all the possible OData entities that you can select and then generate the fields so they will become available inside of Easy Reporter. So as you can see, it's quite a long list here. Okay, after you select this, let's say you pick a particular one, you would hit the continue and you would move on from there and follow the prompts on the screen. I'm not going to go to that extent for this demonstration. I just wanted to get you started with the screenshots, as well as point out, as always, the documentation, the step-by-step procedure is available in our online portal, our Zendesk portal, where hopefully you have already connected to and utilized. If not, certainly let me know after this webinar and I can get you that information about how you get signed up for that. All right, so I'm going to cancel out of here, and I'll just go ahead and green arrow back to my main Easy Reporter screen. And then we're going to talk about the next thing that I wanted to illustrate for you, and that is inside the web reporter. So I'm going to bump over here to another screen. I have already executed here my URL that takes me to the web reporting interface. So this is how you can run Easy Reporter reports via this sort of URL connection rather than the SAP GUI. So this is our standard delivered tiles. You can make changes to them. Some of you may have already done that, but this is kind of the standard delivered version. I'm going to drill into a report here. I'm going to go in here to HR, and I'm going to go into employee data. And then I'm going to pick a report here. So these are the reports that we have flagged to make available in the web reporter. This MD01, employee details by employee number, is obviously one of our pre-delivered reports that you're probably familiar with. So I'm going to click on that. My web reporter here is going to execute for just a moment. And what it does is it brings up the selection screen. I can also populate my selection screen via a variant that I created previously. Here inside a web reporter, they're called saved selections. I'm going to click on that, And let's see, if I were to pick employees, see what it populates over here. So it says as of today, 165 employees are selected as part of this variant. So you can see kind of your standard selection screens. They just look a little bit different. The web version, you see the period, you see the employee selection where you can narrow it down if you'd like by company code, personnel area, etc. But down at the bottom, this is a new section. You haven't had this previously with the web reporter, and that's at the bottom where it says you can enable the pagination, and then if you do that, tell it how many items per page. So in other words, here we're looking for like 165 employees. Assuming all 165 have data, then my results here without the pagination is going to be 165 people in one long continuous page. If I want to use the pagination, I can click the box. We default in here 10. You can change that if you like. I'll just get my box to say checked. There we go. So I've checked it. 10 items per page. I'll just leave it with that, and I'm going to execute the report. So I'll come over here and execute my web report. So this is going to run that same report that you've seen over on the on-premise SAP GUI side inside of Easy Reporter, MD01 master data. But now it ran from the web, and you can see, I'll go ahead and do the full screen expansion. Here it is in full screen mode. At the bottom, we have 1 to 10 is showing, is being illustrated, and then you can scroll, use the scroll bars and do 11 through 20, 21 through 30, etc. by using those pagination bars. So here's 11 through 20. It'll go a little faster if I do it over here without having it expanded to scroll from one page to the next. So that's an option available to you now with the upgrade. So hopefully, if you've been using the web reporter and you've felt like it was a limitation not being able to see them split into separate pages like that, now you're going to have that ability. So that's our big change for the web reporter this time. The last thing I'm going to show you, we'll get back over here into the on-prem side. Let's see, we want to be over here, I think. We're going to talk about that SAP Analytics Cloud integration. So if you remember back when I was doing the slides a few moments ago, I mentioned that you can now designate an Easy Reporter report to be the data feed into the SAP Analytics Cloud. If you're using SAP Analytics Cloud or you're even thinking about using it, I think you would find this really beneficial as a way of getting your HCM data into a nice, easy little format that you already know how to work with and have it imported into the Analytics Cloud. So I'm just going to show you a little bit here of how that integration is done. We're not going to go through the full process, but let me just give you a little bit of an overview. For one, there are two different ways that you can set this up. One that we call our manual way, and one is automatic. The manual way just gives you more control over exactly the locations and folders that you're using and such, but the automatic way, works very, very well. So what I'm going to do is show you the automatic way in terms of this demonstration, but let you know that there is this quote-unquote manual way documented in our online documentation should you find a need to have more control over this process and you want to go through it step by step instead of letting our little automatic behind the scenes wizard do it for you. So here's how you would do, and actually this lead in, what I'm going to show you, manual or automatic, you would be starting off this same way. So the first thing we need to do is we have to pick a report. So I'm going to just go in here and randomly pick a report. So let's say, here's a report. Once you decide this is the report, I've already built this report and I want it to be the data that flows into the SAP Analytics Cloud, pick your report and then follow this menu path. Menu maintenance, then you need to go down to advanced. Then we have a new option called add menu to metadata API. So that's new with this release. Now, if I click it, it's automatically going to process and take this one particular report and add it to the API, which you're going to see when I go to the next screen what I'm talking about. I don't really want to add this one report, so I'm not going to click it. I don't get a second box to say, are you sure? So we're just going to pretend that I'm clicking this option right now. So I would do that because I want to add this report in. And then after doing that, here is the way I would move forward. Go up to configuration and go to external report definition. And by the way, this is all documented, like I mentioned, in our online documentation, so don't worry about, you need to write down every step. So I would follow that path and it brings me to this screen. And I'm going to click on define menu items. This may look familiar to you if you use our web reporter or the older version, the UI5, and you've come over here and done some menu maintenance for that purpose, as well as if you use ESS or MSS portals and you're putting Easy Reporter reports into those. You've probably been over here on this screen. This is where you would have been. For this purpose, for the SAP Analytics Cloud integration, I'm going to page down. And I need to scroll it. There we go. So I have a menu option here, a menu entry, 2019 R2 SAC for SAP Analytics Cloud OData API. If I open that up, what you see here are all the reports that we have already added into it. That step I just did where I said I'm not going to actually click on it, if I had clicked it, that report I selected would be in here. So, this has been done with this entire list of reports in our system. Okay, and that is what you would do to add, like another report that you want to make available. Once you do that, there is an additional step because this is kind of in draft mode, and that's why we call it the draft menu. You actually need to come over here to configuration setup, publish the draft configuration to solidify those entries and make them the published version of the menu rather than just the draft. So that gives you a little bit of an overview. It's probably not enough steps to actually feel confident now that you know how to do it, but hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what to follow along doing, and you can get the more complete instructions out of our online portal. So we're going to come back now to our slides and we'll continue with talking about the next product, and that's Easy Clone. And so what are we changing for 2019 R2 with Easy Clone? So about a year ago, we introduced the ability to clone SuccessFactors Employee Central data during the execution of a copy for ECP or on-premise payroll data. So that functionality has now been extended to allow users to analyze any errors that occur during the cloning of SuccessFactors Employee Central data. In fact, this enhancement provides users insight into which component might require modification or adjustment because of those errors that would occur during a SuccessFactors cloning process. So the menu path that you follow is in the screenshot. SuccessFactors integration check. So this is when I'm inside my Easy Reporter main screen. So you follow this menu path, and there you can check and verify things like the RFC connection, the role-based permissions, and the alignment of the metadata prior to even kicking off the cloning process. The idea being that you're heading off those potential errors before they even happen. So this next slide is going to provide you a closer look at how that all works. So what you see here are 3 tabs. So you've gone through that menu path on the previous slide. You're at these 3 tabs. One says source, one says target, and then there's a comparison tab. The source and target tabs are identical. And on those, you just populate the applicable on-premise or ECP SAP system from the drop-down under SAP destination, meaning the 2 systems that you plan to use during the cloning process. One's on the source tab, one's on the target tab. You just do the drop down and pick them from that field. Then once you do that, the field right below, so that's right here, is going to populate automatically based on those selections and based on the SM34 configuration that you already have in your system. Now there's also an area at the bottom where you can indicate if you want to use the SuccessFactors credentials that are stored in SM34, or you can come in here and supply different ones. So this is all part of setting up this error checking and making the connections you need to make in order to do this. So then when you click on the Compare tab, that was the third tab here, you're going to be taken to this screen, which allows you to click on the Compare button and actually execute the comparison process. And after the comparison runs, you can check the 3 sub-tabs, which are RFC, role-based permissions, and metadata to see if there are any exception messages. So you'll know if there are any exceptions found, letting you know ahead of time before you even do the cloning process whether your clone is going to be successful, pulling in that Employee Central data along with the clone of the on-premise data. All right, so the next thing to talk about is Easy Balance. So both Easy Balance US and Easy Balance Canada are receiving updates this time to 1 or more pre-delivered reports. So for the US, it's the Tax Infotype Comparison Report. On that report, the filtering logic has been improved so that the federal Infotype 210 record is no longer unnecessarily reported as out of sync with the employee state authority. And then the change for the Canadian Easy Balance product is in regards to the summarizing of tax data based on tax registration numbers. So for the federal level PD7A source deductions report, the 4-digit account number following the characters RP will now be included as the registration number. And for the Quebec version of the report, the amounts will be summarized according to Quebec taxation ID number rather than that federal registration number. Okay, and the next product now to discuss is Easy Help Desk. So this second release of 2019 adds 2 more countries, Chile and Pakistan, to the list of those for which the tool is localized. By providing country-specific configuration inside of Easy Help Desk, this allows the users from those countries to adapt the existing menus to their local needs. So in the system, you see this by following the menu path of configuration, menu maintenance. Now this is inside of Easy Help Desk, configuration, menu maintenance, where you'll now see both of those countries listed in the drop-down list of available countries. So here I'm showing you the drop-down, and you're just going to have 2 more listed there. So our final product to discuss today is our cloud-based document generator, Strato. In the relatively few years since we introduced Strato, we have made its development a top priority. And as you know, computing in the cloud and the idea of software as a service are really here to stay. So it is a primary focus for us to remain relevant in that business climate. And Strato is one of the ways that we're doing that. With every new release, we provide additional functionality and enhancements. Because Strato is an online application that we can push updates to without requiring any quote-unquote upgrade involvement from the customers, it's not actually part of this release cycle, but rather it undergoes updates approximately every month. So for today's webinar, what I thought I would do is just give you a high-level overview of some of the most recent enhancements. So several enhancements were provided in March this year, listed here on the slide. Strato can now be integrated with SAP Cloud Platform for more security when you're accessing either SuccessFactors or on-premise ECC data. That provides a greater level of data security, as does the next bullet point, which refers to code changes that we have delivered that improve the overall security against bots and spammers. For the end users, we have extended Strato's capabilities to include generating documents in PowerPoint format. The option to output as PDF still exists, But by adding PowerPoint as an alternative, we are providing our customers much greater flexibility. Note that in order to activate this ability for PowerPoint downloads, you must first log in to the Strato admin tool and enable that feature. We have also improved the Strato error logging, generating targeted error messages rather than the previous generic ones. This enhancement allows to help solve errors more easily when they're encountered. And finally, we have added the ability to delete a company in the Strato admin tool, which allows our customers to keep their configuration clean and up to date. Now, in April of this year, we built on the previous delivered ability to generate documents in PowerPoint format by giving the users the capability to immediately email that output as an attachment. Upon composing an email in Strato, which can be for individual recipients as well as groups, there's now an Attach as PPTX option via a checkbox. We also continue to deliver on our promise to keep your data secure, adding more strict security measures against malicious content, such as from third-party websites. And then finally, our end of June release added the ability to include a blind copy recipient on all emails sent from Strato. Plus, we added system warnings when users preview documents that have not been saved. For the blind copies, you will need to make an entry in the SMTP settings configuration found in the Strato admin tool. It's there you will enter in the email address that you want blind copied on the emails sent from Strato. The idea behind that is it gives companies a way to track the emails being sent if desired. In addition to the blind copy functionality, behind the scenes performance improvements were delivered in June as well. Tool users were also provided with additional field and widget settings, further explained on the next slide. The biggest change in field settings was the introduction of trend data entities and fields for the SuccessFactors Talent Catalog, which, by the way, is labeled User Catalog in Strato. Therefore, you will see these additional fields when editing field settings for the user catalog. We also enhanced some of the messages and related data labels to make them more helpful and user-friendly. At the widget level, the way in which Strato displays SuccessFactors error messages was improved, including the introduction of a retry or refresh button to help users resolve errors. Changes were also made in the notifications to reflect the status of emails sent from Strato, as well as the start and end dates. Last, email functionality was enhanced to allow users to try resending emails that were not previously sent successfully. So I thought today we'd come over here to Strato. All right, so here we are. We're on our SuccessFactors homepage. You can embed in that homepage your links to Strato documents. So we're going to use one of these links. We're actually going to go into this recruitment under Strato, our recruitment tile, and we're going to run an offer letter. And I'm going to show you how you could generate that offer letter in PowerPoint. Now, an offer letter is probably not the most applicable type of document that you would want in PowerPoint, but I had one readily available here in my demo system, so I thought that's the one we would go with. You know, you might be thinking more in terms of other types of certificates, perhaps that, you know, total reward statements, perhaps things that maybe fit PowerPoint format a little bit better. So with our recruiting letter, just to illustrate, we're going to hit the Get Started button here, and I'm going to pick Job Offer Letter. So this is a Strato document that's reading the SuccessFactors recruitment module to pull in the data related to this job requisition so it can generate the offer letter to the candidate. So here's one of my candidates. Here's the job. I'll just go ahead and pick him. And I'm going to come over here to generate. So you see it populates a selection screen. We'll come over here, hit the generation button. All right, so my document finished. Notice I have view document, so let me see it right here on the screen. I have download PDF, I have download as PowerPoint. FYI, if I decide to view the document, I will have the option there on that same screen. I'll have another time where I can choose to do the download as either one of these. If I do it from this screen without viewing first, I'll hit the download PowerPoint. Okay, so I've got a PowerPoint here that I can open. See it pop down here in my downloads. It is going to open up, and there it is. So as you can tell, this is a letter. I can hit my enable editing button. So I'm in PowerPoint now, and I have the letter, and I would be able to take this document that I generated out of Strato and do the normal kinds of PowerPoint manipulations with it that I might want to. Like I said, recruiting letter, offer letter, probably not the best of examples, but if you think about the other kinds of documents that you can generate through your Strato application, you might come up with some good uses for this, where you could create some PowerPoint presentations and such based on these documents that are generated out of Strato. So it's a nice addition to the software in terms of what it will do. So I hope you found this presentation to be beneficial, and I do thank you for joining today.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. If you have any questions or if you wish to upgrade, feel free to send them over to info@spinfxit.com, and we'll reach out to you as soon as possible. Spinifex IT joins this year's Success Connect conference in Las Vegas as a gold sponsor. Find out more about the event and what we've got in store for the conference by subscribing to our social media pages or following the hashtag #ComeSeeSpinifexIT. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.